Guys, we are still here at FanExpo 2024 with your Geeks and Company. We're trying to talk to as many of the comic book creators. This is a Comic-Con, believe it or not. Many of the comic book creators as we possibly can, and we are joined today by Mike Rooth. Mike, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for dropping by.
By all means. What would people new to your work, what are you working on currently, but what would you mostly be known for?
Probably stuff recently I've done on Ninja Turtles. I've worked on a lot of the different Ninja Turtles titles in the past couple of years. It's their 40th anniversary of the Turtles, of course, this year from this first issue, and I've had a chance to work on a lot of different Turtles projects, like the 40th anniversary book and the relaunch of the series. I also got to do a couple of issues on the last, as the IDW series ended. Other than that, I've worked on Swamp Thing and Conan and some different things like that, but mainly Turtles this year. Yeah.
And do you have any upcoming work as far as this goes that is it all turtle related from now on, or is you kind of still bouncing through?
I'm an old school illustrator. I've been doing this since the mid '90s, so I work for anybody. But I've been lucky enough in the last couple of years to be working almost exclusively in comics. So I've been working on turtle stuff and just whatever gig comes along. A lot of independent covers, and whatever publisher reaches out that wants a cover, I usually get set up to do that. So.
Are you Canadian? Are you from Canada or are you from the States?
Yeah, I grew up in St. Catharines, but I live in Oakville now, not too far from Toronto here. And yeah, it's a heck of a commute every day, but especially to this show. But yeah, that's where I'm from.
Is this your first show here? Sorry, is this your first time here at FanExpo, or have you been here before?
Oh, no, this is probably my 10th year as a guest. I've been coming here since about 2014, so...
What's your overall impression of coming out to the Canadian cons, showing your work, having people come up and interact with you about your work, past, present, and future? What's your overall impression?
Well, I mean, the Canadian shows are a different flavor than the American shows for sure. I mean, the shows in the States are typically a lot bigger and crazier, but FanExpo in particular is very much on par with the largest shows in the States. I mean, I've been to New York Comic Con and other big shows, and I would put FanExpo up against New York Comic Con for volume of people anyway. Yeah, and it's there's a lot going on. There's something for everybody at this convention. So, and I big shout out to Kevin Boyd, who's the guest coordinator for comics, because he and his team really take care of an amazing artist alley, and they give a lot of space to a lot of great creators around here and from all over the world.
No, I agree. We've been lucky enough to speak with some of the other creators already, and everybody's just so happy to be coming to the show. There hasn't been a bad word said about it so far, so that's always great to hear. Is there a property that you haven't had a chance to work on that is maybe sort of your white whale, sort of your heart's desire to work on in the future?
Oh yeah, I've been a long-time comic fan since I was a little kid. So I mean, for me, like getting a chance to draw Ben Grimm or the Fantastic Four or something like that for Marvel would be a big benchmark. For the longest time, I just wanted to do Conan stuff, and I was lucky enough to actually have that opportunity a few times now since my career began. And it just lends more to the idea that you got to dream big sometimes. Like, long ago, an art director asked me, "What do you want to do in comics?" I said, "I just want to get a pinup in Conan one day," and that happened. And I've done half a dozen covers for Conan since. So, sometimes you got to reach a little bit higher than you think because you just never know what's around the corner.
Fair. What was the bug? What got you into drawing initially?
Oh man, that's a good question. Honestly, I think my mom was really quite a naturally gifted artist when I was a kid, and I was fascinated. And I had a few scrappy comics that I'd get from my neighbors or my uncles, and I'd ask her to draw me characters from the books. And then eventually my little brother came along. He was born when I was about 7 years old, and she never really had time to draw with me anymore. So I was kind of at that level of motor skills where I was ready to start developing, and I really wanted to draw like she could draw. So that's probably where it started, and then it just kind of clung to the rest of my life.
Do you remember your first paid gig as an artist?
Yeah, I did a illustrated board game, actually kind of at the same time as a children's book that I did. It was an illustrated Canadian history board game called Trailblazer, and I had to draw the little invention cards and animal cards that were found in Canada. And I did a children's book about an alien dog that came from outer space to help children with their problems, and those were the early days. I've done some cooler stuff since then.
That's fair enough. As far as, and I've been asking all the creators this, as far as the current state of the comic book industry, obviously it has its ups and downs and such. What's your impression of the current state of the industry?
Well, it's a great time and it's a crazy time, and there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of elements of the business that I think are in some ways supporting a lot of creators but also eating away at the underbelly of the comic industry itself. So there's a lot of different things happening, a lot of different markets. There's markets for people who read comics and collect comics. There's markets for people who collect variant covers and those types of exclusives and things like that. It's a trader's market. So there is it's very diverse. From my standpoint, I just like to get hired and draw stuff. I don't really care, and as long as I can feed my cats and keep the lights on, I'm good.
I do. If people want to see your work moving forward, what's the best way about going doing that?
So I'm on Instagram at Uncouth Rooth. You can find me there, and I also have a shop at mikerooth.bigcartel.com. But you can see my work just at mikerooth.com. It's really easy to remember, and that's pretty much. I mostly post on Instagram and share it to other platforms. But that's Uncouth Rooth on all of those. So.
Guys, Mike Rooth here at FanExpo 2024. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We really appreciate it. Stay geeky, folks. Be good. That one? Bye.